As countries at COP30 struggle to agree on key climate issues, Singapore says it is crucial for the world to show that the annual talks remain relevant. Sustainability and the Environment Minister, Grace Fu, was speaking to the media as negotiations went into overtime. Countries remain deadlocked over how quickly to phase out fossil fuels and finance climate action as they defend their economic interests. Teng reports from Belem, Brazil.
I'm here at the COP30 venue where moving away from fossil fuels has emerged as one of the most contentious issues. Pushback from nations that depend on oil produced from such fuels for their economy has led to a deadlock over how to chart a clear roadmap for that transition. Now, these fossil fuels are the largest driver of global warming. We spoke to Sustainability and Environment Minister Grace Fu in the midst of these high-level negotiations, and she stressed that against the backdrop of countries protecting their national interests, it's important to signal to the world that global climate action is still possible.
The feedback from the different groupings are very strong, we have still some work to do as far as I can see. But for me, I think for Singapore, I think a deal is important at this point in time. It's so important for us to show that COP is relevant, and that COP remains the only place and the place for all parties around the world to have that discussion. So for me, we'll try as much as possible to land at a good place.
For Singapore, a good deal would mean holding countries accountable to their pledges, and this includes developed countries helping to fund climate action for developing countries, and nations keeping to their goals to reduce emissions.
These are all very critical issues that we hope that will get properly addressed. And also, I still believe that we can land something in adaptation, and that's still my sort of number one target for this deal.
That's as countries appear to have reached a consensus on climate adaptation indicators. These will help measure how well nations are building defences against climate impacts like floods and extreme heat. She says Singapore is prepared to move ahead with the current set of around 60 indicators, as every outcome is one step forward. Ms. Fu adds that financing adaptation remains a critical challenge, and Singapore will continue to back small island states calling for more support. She says that the country is in a position to be able to not ask for financing but source it for other nations.
This is a privilege for Singapore, it's a strength of Singapore, and I think we should use that strength to really activate global climate action.
It's not unusual for major issues to remain unresolved at the end of the conference, as each country defends its national interests, which don't always align with the fight against climate change. But the hope is that the next COP will build on what's been started to keep the world moving forward and ensure that the planet remains one where humans and animals can continue to live and thrive. CNA Teng, Belem, Brazil.
Singapore marked key milestones at this year's UN climate talks in Brazil. These include progress in carbon credit agreements with Bhutan and Thailand. It also released a report on transition credits aimed at helping Asia phase out coal plants earlier. Ms. Fu highlighted these developments on the official last day of COP30. She says Singapore also substantially concluded negotiation of a memorandum of understanding with Brazil, but the signing was disrupted by a fire that broke out at the venue. Beyond that, Singapore also supported a global push for sustainable cooling solutions. Reflecting on Singapore's contribution, Ms. Fu says it is clear that international cooperation can deliver results, and that the partnerships established and frameworks agreed at the conference must now be turned into action through concrete policies, programs and scale.